The reason why I love doing these like modern meets fantasy type of concepts is because I want to take an expectation and then I want to subvert that expectation. I think that's where you keep an audience's attention. My name is Sara Alfageeh. I'm an illustrator and creative director based out in Boston, and I'm currently working on my first graphic novel, SYFY, which is coming out with HarperCollins children's books in fall 2021. Today, I began a sketch for a modern take on a lot of fantasy tropes that I really, really love. And that primarily comes down to something that I really love to draw, which is essentially girls with swords. The reason I came in with a sketch today was because I'm actually a person who really, really hates drawing on the spot. It kind of freaks me out because I like to sit down and really think about what I'm about to get into. The moment that I hit my pen to the paper, to feel as ready and as confident as possible. I want to make sure that I have a game plan in place before I really get into it. When I'm developing my artwork and I'm coming up with compositions and character designs, I kind of want to come in with as much of an informed approach as possible. A lot of the work that I develop is very much rooted in true historical research. So this character that I have here that I'm sort of developing, I was thinking of a very assertive, very confident looking person and wanted to sort of feel out using very basic geometric shapes, like what does confidence look like when you're just thinking in circles and rectangles and just the absolute bare minimum shapes. So this right here is just very standard, cheap Bristol paper. You can get a pack of 100 for, I think, $15 when it's not on sale. And Prismacolor Premier pens, which is about 6 of different sizes for like $5. And that takes a lot of the pressure off of developing your work. I really encourage digital for people for that exact reason, of keeping things as non-precious as you can. I have a lot of fun combining historical fantasy tropes with very modern designs. So you get that really nice look of a sneaker combined with like all the impracticality of armor, and that juxtaposition together is just really fun for me. I was a senior in college last year and I just desperately needed to learn how to draw stuff for myself again. I was just hitting client deadlines and hitting all types of school deadlines. I didn't know what it was like to draw for myself anymore. And I just kind of got this really wild idea of a girl on a skateboard holding this completely impractical sword, and I just threw that into the world. And the image somehow, some way, I could not have planned it, went viral, and it introduced me to my now literary agent and got the attention of a lot of people. And I had to really think to myself, think critically of like, why did this click with other people? Because as far as I was concerned, I was just having fun. And I think that's not something that should be discounted. If you find what you really, really enjoy doing, people respond in kind. And that's incredibly powerful, because that's ultimately what your art style is gonna be. It's gonna be the stuff you really enjoy doing, plus the media that you consumed. So I love fantasy, I love history, so obviously those come out in my work. And then finally, and this is what is the most important part, it's like your special brand of laziness. That'll ultimately be what defines when you stop a piece and when you continue to develop it. So for me, I really enjoy inking and I hate shading. So because of my special brand of laziness, I'm not gonna do it. And that's what makes my art look like mine. Right now I'm using just an 01 line weight pen, and that gives me those nice crisp lines. Gonna add some extra little strands of hair, keep things in motion. So now that I kind of have a sense for where her weight is, I can continue on and develop the illustration further. I'm just like really into this idea of this hyper capable, sort of like feral child in the woods. And that's sort of the idea that I came up with, this creature head, that big, intimidating, snarling creature. So it's all teeth and angles, while she's more rounded and curved, to sort of juxtapose them together. And I love to make sure that things feel in motion. The sort of cheats, I should say, that I have, but that also keeps my work recognizable from what I hear from people, is that some of the visual symbols that I tend to like to use, I love to use big clouds and big like billows of smoke, always making things feel like there's a moment right before and a moment right after that this character is gonna just get up and go do something after they're done. And feeling like you're not just witnessing what they're up to, but you're witnessing like a snapshot of this little life. I never have my characters face the camera and look at the audience because I feel like that's boring. If they're looking out of frame, it implies that there's something out there worth looking at. And it makes the world that they're in feel a little bit bigger. I'm gonna go with a lot of strong, almost action lines to imply that there is emotion happening. A lot of what my construction lines are here is understanding that what I'm looking at is a shape before anything else, and then kind of carving out the character from it. And understanding that this is a whole structure that has to be built on top of each other. It almost feels like architecture. And then I tell my friends who are architects, and they're like, no, it's not. What I love about illustration, the reason I am an illustrator today, is because I fell in love with this idea that there's this unsolvable problem. And there's 1,000 solutions, and no one's really right, but you can try to get as close as possible to what you think the solution for this creative problem is in the moment. Is he snarly enough? I don't know. We'll see at the end. Weirdly enough, I'm hesitant to call him a monster head. I'm weirdly sentimental. God, I miss drawing with brush pens. This is great for me. I'm a fairly new professional. I wouldn't have considered myself part of the comics community, the illustration community, until a little over a year ago. And one of the main things that kind of allowed me to make that mental shift was realizing that it's like, if I present myself as a professional and I present myself as worthy, I guess, of other people's attention and time, and I just need to respect other people the way that they interact with me and respect me, and allow myself to take compliments and allow myself to see the value in my work. Because if I am not the fan of my work, I have no business expecting other people to be fans of my work. And the illustration community is just so incredibly supportive. So I tried to go structured, loose, structured, loose. And that all together keeps things moving, keeps things energetic. I like to leave a lot of unanswered questions in my illustration, pose a lot of problems that I definitely don't have the answers to. It's kind of like in horror movies where you don't actually want to see the monster, because whatever you specifically came up in your head is gonna be scarier to you than any monster they put in a suit or any monster they came up with CGI. So it's like trusting your audience to keep up with you is super important, and not try to handhold them at every single step. Nothing really replaces the slightly wavy, slightly shaky lines with pens. You can sort of emulate it digitally, but it just doesn't compete. Gonna go into some finer line weights, give it a semblance of texture. Let this card look a little beat up. One of my friends once tried explaining my art style to me. It's like you took a concept and you shook it in a bag of rocks. I was like, I'll take it. So my name is Sara Alfageeh, and today I did kind of a modern take on some fantasy RPG tropes.